Today we're having a look at the 2024 Vawdon Cup Men's Premier League Grand Final.
Oh, how about that? It's even better.
Count of the man, count of the hour.
That is sensational.
Okay, Men's Premier League. Tapping off is Central Coast, and they're versing in the yellow Paramatta. The Paramatta are defending champs, and we have a try off the tap-off. So let's have a look at this try. Now, there's no doubt that these two teams have played each other for a long time now. So a dominant player for Central Coast is this number 7 here. Okay, out of dummy half in particular. So Paramatta have probably done a bit of watching, some video analysis or watching games, whatever. And a tap-off move traditionally from the coast is a 4-on-3. So the middle will drive in at this middle here, this guy here. The link will go to dummy half, and he will just basically take off from dummy half and try to beat the middle who's just made the touch. In seeing this, Paramatta, what they're going to do is sort of more of a Queensland style defense, is that link is going to step up and try and make the touch here, with the middle being able to get back on side. So when the dummy half picks up, he runs straight into that middle, but they're already on side. Okay, Central Coast, this is why we talk about touch footy as a bit of a game of chess. Central Coast have seen that maybe that they will try something like that. So instead of going to dummy half, he bounces out. And they catch, as you can see, this Paramatta player here just a little bit flat-footed as he comes in. And by the time he turns to chase, the Central Coast number 7, that's Chris Lennon, is already basically at next to full speed. So it's a little bounce play. Just go back. It's hard for me to replay it after I've already done some squiggles on there, but I can play it in slow motion. There might actually be a replay of this anyway. You can just see the angle change there. Let me just play through. Play through. If it lets me. All right, I think they may have a replay. Yep. No. Oh, yes, a replay. Yep, there it is there. Just note the angle change. He moves in to go to dummy half and just bounces out like that. There's a couple of replays on this one. This is Paramatta hitting back. So call that a middle sweep, or some people might call it a Cindy, but it's it's just a sweeper platform. However, or is it a link sweep? Is someone out of the footage? No, it's a middle sweep. So just going back. All right, so we're going to call these two the middles here. I believe that's the link, and I just think there's someone, obviously the referee's pointing at someone off screen. So it's a sweeper. So normally you'd go middle with a link sweeping. However, this time we're giving it to the link, and he is going to step in as he does on his own link, and the sweeper will come around and attack this player. Now this is a link, it's not a middle. So normally when you run a sweeper, when you're attacking the link, you treat it like a punish. So more often than not, it's just going to be attacking the line, whether it's a dive or a little short pass, but you're really going flat out at that line. And you can see the defensive shape's quite good from the coast. Let's go forward. There's the pass, and he's just attacking this player while he's offside. This middle's coming in basically to cover, because you're very vulnerable for a step back here and a dive right between the link middle sort of channel. And that's where they sort of start attacking. So you see he comes around here. The defense is pulled corner. But because this guy's so tight, Paramatta player with the ball's noted that there's no real spot for him to dive. So he throws the short ball. And the Central Coast defender, he's just a bit loose. So this player here will just sort of catch and get a quick put down. Right there. Try time. And that's just always good about like a talking point, especially for younger players or players that are just sort of beginning, is just working off the ball here. A lot of the times, even in teams that I'll play, the dummy half will get the ball here and just sort of stand still. But this guy was ready to catch that ball. And I just want to notice something on this sweep as well. It is a middle sweep, but traditionally, just going back to the number 9 here, It's just a little subtle change in the way that they've swept. Normally the sweeper will come from the outside player and this person will go to half. However, Parramatta have just done it a little bit opposite, which it's the same thing. Like nothing really changes. It just obviously, if you believe that this player is a better player on the sweep platform, then yes, give them the ball. And that's it there. And they missed the touch by not much at all. So it was a tight little hole to fit the Parramatta player in. Another sweeper, more of a traditional style. Into a phase. That was nice. And player called offside. Bit to unpack there because there was a lot happening. Whoops. Going back a bit too far. So traditional sweeper here. Link comes from their side, sweeps around, middle. Ball carrying middle gets the middle in front of him, so his opposing middle steps in. And there's the sweeper going around the back, attacking the offside player here. And the good thing about what this sweeper's done is they've run it well enough to keep that gap between the defender and the guy with the ball as tight as possible. If he's back here, then obviously he's just going to get onside quicker and recovering of any sort of sidestep or passing of the ball. But when you're this close to him, if you step like that, doesn't have enough time to react. So he steps. Defenders are holding here. Probably could be a little bit tighter because I do feel like that dive to the line is an option, but just from the camera angle, it might be a little bit different. But what they've done here is they've gone second phase, which means if everyone steps up off the line, you get a quick dump, catch them all off guard, and then attack again while they've about 2-3 meters offside, which is what they do. They go again. Central Coast react, but this player here, they were calling just to make the line because the dump was only like 3 meters out, so he had to touch the line at least, but he never did. So his reaction was good, but he just never got onside, and Para played to the whistle and scored the try. So it was a bit of a confusing one. I was at this game watching, and we all got a little bit confused at the start why play sort of started again, but we did find out that he was called offside. Another sweeper. And this is why sweepers are just such a good play and they're never going to die, because the options that you have, there's another sweeper, are really good. So you've seen 2 sweepers by Paramatta go around and then back this way. So I've got another video out, introduction to sequencing, and this is just another form of sequencing. So you notice that he's come around and then he's straightened up before he's caught the ball, to give that impression that he's going to go back against the grain. So these players here are ready for that. However, you can see the winger here is sort of stepping up real tight. So when he catches the ball, he angles out and he goes, oh, terrible, yes. And he goes over the top to his own winger. There it is, step out. And like I say, the difference between the good sweeper and the great sweeper is if you just swept around at an angle and didn't do that sort of little in and away movement, you don't score that. They just chase out and everyone just mans on. But because he came in straight, and then we call it kicking out like that, and then pass, by running straight, these 2 players here bit in just a little bit for them to get caught just sort of too far in. And that was just a nice pass to finish it off. I keep getting messages. Central Coast back with splitter. Run a second phase as well. A really nice one. This is probably just your textbook second phase. The one that Paramatta run was a little bit frantic and chaotic and they just got the job done. But as far as textbook goes, this is what you're looking for. So they run the splitter play. Looks like a quickie. We've seen a few of these. Link comes up the middle. And very important note here, dummy half, give, and then backpedal. Get out of the way. The last thing you want is this saving middle to come up and be able to touch both of you at the same time with his arms out. So split. Yep. The width is there. Now they beat this first play. Well, they don't so much beat. This is just policy and defense. Link comes in to shut down the play. which is fine, policy. However, what Central Coast do is they get a quick dump. Bang. Now you've got one lonely onside player with a link and a winger off screen. So very, very difficult to defend second phase, and they just go pass. Then the really way you can sort of defend this, and I'm going to try and get some good footage of this happening, it's you can either push the ruck over and give away a penalty, but you do risk going to a forced sub or even in the bin if in extreme case. Or you can do like a bit of treading, which, like I say, this link could come up and just sort of hold and give enough time for his middle to recover. But that is so hard to see with everything going a million miles an hour. If I was coaching a team and they just shut down like that and a team beat us on a second phase, I probably wouldn't be disappointed as long as we're following that policy. But yeah, if you can see second phase touching, just hold off making the touch, allowing even just a second for your other players to just recover and get into position. Another one of those sort of sweepers with the alternate players. And it's funny, we used to run this back when I was like 20 and first coming into men's open. We ran this style of sweeper and we called it a para because this is where we've seen it from. Not so much the outside player running around, but the middle guy running around and the outside player getting to dummy half. It's subtle. If anything, it's probably a little bit more difficult to run, but as a defender, it might be a little bit more awkward to see. Anyway, it worked. That was I think that's just a bad read too. I think there's my lines. If we look at the number 23 pulling corner, I'm guessing that there just was little or no communication to his outside players, because the link just sort of come in like that, and right as you can see, he's making the touch. So just a bit of a bad defensive miss there, and Para get another try. Goes with the footy. Another sweeper play. Bit of a 50-50 call, this one. Because some say that this touch was made, but we can see here. Look how wide this sweeper is. It's not particularly wide, but if you can back your dive, then I would actually probably prefer you sweeping with some width. If you're a ball player and you want to use your passing, suck in that shutdown defense, go over the top with a long ball or something like that with your passing, then you can sweep a bit tighter, like we saw with the Para try before when he swept sort of tight and then kicked out. That's fine if you're a ball player, but if you're a diver, give yourself width. Make this guy here touch and then see you 5 meters away from the play the ball and have to make up 5 meters of ground. Because what happens then is you can see the middle next to him. He hasn't actually turned to chase yet. Because he's so wide from that ruck and running at that angle, the toucher has already seen that and he's touched, and as soon as that touch has been made, he is full sprint to chase this. Because the last thing you want is to be burnt on your outside on a sweeper. That's the guarantee, like that is the last thing you need. So now he's caught up to him, but because this player here obviously needs an extra second to react, and the amount of speed that this guy's had to chase with, the step back on dive is where the money is. Right there. Okay, I guess number 9 probably wasn't onside. I didn't actually have a look where the dump was made. But yeah, if you a diver, sweep wide. Especially like if you're getting the ball probably dumped 5 out. It's just probably a quick catch dive. And Para with the ball here. Nice little. Oh, this was a big dummy. So we were sitting up here. Me and a couple of friends, just watching this game. So this actually, we got a good view of this one. And it was interesting because nothing was sort of happening. I'm not even sure it was the last touch. It was just a bit of backyard style touch footy. And it's a lot of people will say backyard touch done well, you can't defend it with structure. And it's just the winger was chasing so hard, so step back in, that's fine. Link's done a good job, he's covered, and we could hear him. He was yelling, he's going to cover you. But now all of a sudden there's 3 Parramatta players and the one lonely sort of Link here because the winger's already been beaten. And the Parramatta winger steps back in, and then the tap back looks to be on. The Link makes a decision to try and bat the ball down, but Para's winger dummies and gets over. So he sort of steps back in, dummies, and then scores the try. There's not really structurally wise much to unpack there. It's just a bit of keep the ball up. And this is more of a traditional tap back. You see Para with, you can see there's sort of more eyes up, sort of off the cuff sort of tries, and then Central Coast hit back with a very sort of by the book try. This is an ML play. I'm not saying either one of them's better. They're both worth a point. Okay, so we've got middle, just in case you haven't seen much of an ML. Guy playing the ball will split and then straighten up into this gap between these 2 players. Dummy half will get around like a rooster on the short side. And the ball carrier will make a play and target to beat the player who's just made the touch. Link chops this line here. Winger keeps the width on a J line if you know what that is. But I do have a video on the J line for the wingers. So here's the ML. Runs straight, steps. Now, because he's a live player, the dive is an option. So middles have covered that dive. This player here is about to scream into this hole. And because everyone's so sort of bunched in the middle here, it just means tough job for the winger. And look, it's a tough job for the winger all the time. And he's just got to get a good read of where this is going. But they go long. You can see the Link for Central Coast changes his line to back up on the inside. And there's the tap back. Tap back sort of, it's come into real popularity. I'm doing a video, well, I've done it. It's just coming out after this one on the tap back. It's just about your lines that you run. So we'll talk more about that on that video. We have another sweeper. Just a bit sort of weary about, well, hang on, this is a bit confusing. I'm just going to watch this. So it's a sweeper. It looks to be sweeping into man on. Here, this player would have the man on. He's just offside, but I'm just wondering where this guy's going. I didn't notice that when I watched it live and when I quickly cut up the tries on the edit. So it looks like he's tried to double touch, which means normally you would dump in on this player, which is probably not, it probably doesn't matter too much because they're both up on nearabouts on the 7 anyway. But normally you dump on your own middle so that when the sweeper comes around, they can attack that middle. But the Paramatta player's double touched, and whether this is an error from Central Coast, I'm not sure. He's double touched, but when you double touch, you don't actually have to pull a massive corny because you're not chasing the guy that dumped the ball. You actually become, when you double touch on the sweeper, you're now the dummy half. So hypothetically, this player should get back on side into pre-touch. But I don't know where he's going. He makes the touch, pulls a hard corner, and whether or not they tried to do a muddle, the other para sort of comes in. And number 8 there, he was just called offside. So it was a bit of a weird thing that happened. But just going back to double touching, it's totally fine. It's actually a really good way to kill a sweeper. If you can call out that I'm making this touch because there's no sort of threat out this side anymore, as they've already sent a sweeper, you've really got to send your other middle back. If you can double touch and get him back on side, they sweep into numbers. It's actually, yeah, it's a really effective way to kill a sweeper. But yeah, it's a little bit baffling as to where they sort of went. Anyway, if anyone's ever seen something like that before, if that's intentional, let me know, because I have definitely never seen it. And I'm keen to learn. So it's 5-all at the moment with just over 2 minutes left. Sweep a quarterback. Keep the play going. Oh, this looked cool live. So again, not really anything sort of structured, just having a look at what's in front of you. I don't think it was the last, but this player here, I think that might be Finn Watkins, just a well-known speedster, and he's going to back his speed against his opposing middle and just try and get it into the in goal. Now, policy normally on the short side is just man on, and the short side being, when you look at the middles, whatever side has, as far as your middle goes, whatever side's got lesser players. Okay, one side will have 3 teammates and the other side will have 2 teammates. So the side with 2 teammates, that's your short side. And that's just man on. But what the winger does is he comes in really deep and goes back into the middle. Because this number 34 here is probably going, oh, I'm going to mark this para player here. And just leaves a bit of a gap. And yeah, it was just a bit of out of nowhere, but it's something where like that particular space is sort of usually unoccupied when the dummy half goes through. So I'm surprised that doesn't happen more often. Another tap back, and this actually leveled the game. This was, again, we've got 1 minute left. Okay, so what we have, we've got the middles up. You got both middles up, which means it doesn't really matter which way you want to split. If you specifically want an open or a short side quickie, it's more the same because they're both up. But he goes the dummy. So he split this way, and you look at the defense, they're going this way as well because obviously it looks like he's going to attack this player here. So defending teammate needs to cover that gap to make sure he doesn't dive. There's little lines everywhere. Dive between the middle of them. But number 1 dummies the ball and goes against momentum. So the options there are to let him run through into the in goal, which is what happened with Para, and Para just scored, or react like this link has. And sometimes if you can get a quick read, when he dummies and turns around, you're basically already in his face. But it's really hard to get a read like that. I think the safer option is to let them run into the in goal. But if you're confident the fact that you can just snipe that, do it. That's definitely a policy that you can use. But he's just a tad late. So he gets the long ball off. He probably would have batted down a short ball. Winger gets a good read, but unfortunately, yeah, just with sniping that, you just do leave sort of that tap back as a bit of an option. But that takes it to 6-all and into extra time. Another message. So extra time, we have 4-on-4 for 2 minutes. If the score's a level after that, we do go into 3-on-3, which is a golden try. And look, perfect play. Like the last time I covered a drop-off was the gold medal match in the mixed open. And we spoke about how you never want to be really running from dummy half. And the reason is you've only got 3 people to look for, and they've only got 3 people to mark up. So we run, looks like a bit of a fake out ball or a fake ML into a reverse quickie. And it's just a try. And the reason why this is a good play is because the play is live. Okay, so we're giving it to someone who can score, and they're not going to be just running around in the in goal. There it is, looks like an ML, and they call that a 2-step play. But it's basically a reverse quickie just from an ML shape. So just coming up to 40 seconds. Normally, you might get 3 possessions in. They run the actual rooster. And there you go. So it's just a normal rooster. Again, making sure the ball player is going to be live. So it looks like this player's slipped over here, which is, look, unfortunate. You never like seeing that, especially in a drop-off. And the Lynx sort of tried to come up and in and trying to take an intercept or get in the way, but the long pass, it can just float over the top just because the amount of the amount of space that you have when it's 4-on-4. Now 4-on-4, it's so hard to defend. And if you think that's hard, going into 3-on-3 is even harder. Like in particular on the line. So there's just a bit of a more need to try and man on there and compete whenever you can. Because shut down defense, like I know the guy slipped over. That's you can forgive them for that. But just normal shutdown defense is a lot harder in 4-on-4 because of how wide and how much space the ball carrying team have. They've tried that sort of sweeper again with the variation. And it was a nice bit of man on there from the coast. Only got 25 seconds left. This is an unlucky call. I do think this was an unlucky call. They've called that, the referees called that a forward pass. Now it is a huge shame. Oh, unless they've called that one a forward pass, but they called a forward pass. We assumed that it was the long ball. And I'm not convinced. But as far as the play goes, reverse quickie, which meant this player here who was a tight middle, this player here, but from this part of the field, has chased out to where he is now. Because he's so tight, protecting the dive at first, he's trying that compete style. But the Paramatta player getting the ball, good on his feet, steps back, and now this player here will realign, hit the hole, and the link or the winger, however you want to call your drop-off players, will just keep the width and wait for that ball. There's the step back. And yeah, they would have had to call the pass off the ruck forward because I just can't see how that ball there was forward, the long one. So we're doing the whole drop-off here. The whole drop-off's going to be on this video. I'm not going to cut it away from it. But yeah, it says 8-7 to Para, but it's actually 7-all. They actually counted the no try. And now it's 3-on-3. So here, if I'm playing a 3-on-3 drop-off and you are on your own 7 and trying to work it out, there's no structure on how to do this. You can revert to arrows. But me personally, I would be trying to just run and chew as much meters as I can just to get down to the other end. There's no real structure. It's just meters, meters, meters. That's a good play. That's it. Look, it's a nice play. A good play for a 3-on-3. It's just a simple late switch. So you go down on the very middle player and you take off at a 45-degree angle. And the timing of this is what's most important. You can see now he's almost run to the line. This number 9 here is fully committed to the chase. And now the angle changes to go. And it's deep too. Because if you sweep and you're shallow, this number 9, if he's any closer, he can just reach and make a touch on you. So there's the depth on the sweep. Really good reaction here. Because once that player's beaten, you've really got to make a decision from that sort of side defender. And he's seen it coming and he has just raced in to put some pressure on that ball carrier. And in doing so, he's forced a quick sort of pass under pressure that just didn't go quite to the mark that he wanted. So a really good reaction there from Para. But a really good play from the coast. It's a play that's sort of coming back into popularity now with all the man on defense. So now Para's turn to work it out from their line. There's the latch sort of latch player coming on, but just chewing the meters. I just sort of feel like a commentator at the moment because there's no cutting. So again, we're going a quickie. And a nice dive. So let's have a look at this one. So it's probably good to actually, if you can, whoa, depends upside down, get your, I'm going to call them links, but get your links up to make a touch wherever they can. And if he splits in, then hopefully these guys are a little bit more offside. Me personally, I probably would have split out, forced this touch at a chase, and then step back in, and you'd still actually have a 3-on-2 instead of going for that 2-on-1. But he just backs his speed here. Runs, got all that space. And it's a well-timed touch from the number 7. But I do think the dive on his inside player was sweet. And he made the touch anyway. So almost a try there for Para. Now Central Coast have the ball. And I remember we were watching this and just... We couldn't remember a drop-off of an elite level that had gone this long into 3-on-3. Like normally... like a standard drop-off, you would see whoever's got the ball when it comes to 3-on-3, they win because it's just too hard to defend. And this here, massive coach killer. This is I think they get done for too many on the field. Let's have a look. Yeah, they did. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oof, that hurts. That one hurts. All right, and Para now hitting back. He's fast, that guy. He's a grease lightning. I do believe this is where they get the win. So again, we've got 3-on-3. If I was defending, I'd probably not send the middle guy out, but there's no real wrong or right way. And there's the try. It's a really nice dive too. I want to talk about this dive. So this is the play that he wanted before. He stepped in, and then he wanted to just beat this middle player and get the 2-on-1 at either side. Last time, though, that you'd noticed the link was up making the touch, and the middle could sort of get out of it a little bit, and then they recovered. But this time the middle makes the touch and he just steps back. And now look at the distance that this middle's got to cover. Now, I know he's quick, but so's the guy with the ball. So there's the foot race. There's the foot race. And the dive, he's curved his body in a way that has made it harder for the guy to touch. Now that's thinking about doing that and putting the ball in that hand so you can twist your body. That's not exactly something that you can just teach someone in a day. But here's the dive, and there's the put down. And look, to Central Coast's credit, they get up and they say no. And Para win the game. Such an exciting game, 8-7. And that was the first ever Vawdon grand final I'd watched live. And it's a great one to see for your first time. So congratulations to Para. And look, we'll do a State Cup prediction as in the coming weeks to talk about who we think the favourites are to win State Cup. And I dare say Paramatta will be right up there after that display. So thanks for watching, guys. And we really appreciate all the support on the channel. Don't forget to like, subscribe, join up as a member, and that would be much appreciated as well. But thanks, guys. We'll see you next time.